when we have this what I call internal situation, inside of me, I'm experiencing all of these internal problems. Then when I interact with the external world, in my external world, there is isolation, and there is repression, emotional repression. Out there, in my group, I can't talk to anyone in my group about how I feel. I become isolated, I feel like I'm alone. Add to that, I don't know who to go to for help, because there isn't the support services that are out there that can intervene earlier on. And also, there's a high expectation culture, where I'm from a culture where I'm expected to be a high achiever, to be highly successful. If I'm not highly successful, guess what happens? I'm seen as a failure. So what we have, next slide, is this. All of these external and internal factors come together, and when they cross over, this is where you are most at risk of mental health problems and emotional problems. It's what we call the conflation or the congruence, where all of these, and my role as a counsellor is to unwrap, to pull this apart, to get down to root causes. And I want to give you some practical techniques as well. Okay, reading, okay, now move on. Alright, this was an exercise I wanted to do, which is that, unfortunately we haven't got time. Just move, can you move through all these slides here? Just move through all of them. No, go back one, I want to go to this. Yeah, right. Again, it's an exercise. As a good emotionally intelligent person, sit down in the cafeteria. I like looking at people. I know apparently in Korean culture people don't look at each other. I'm a bit of a voyeur in that regard. I like looking at people and picking up body language and looking at emotions and looking at how people behave, and I like group dynamics and how they interact in groups. I like doing this kind of stuff. And and it's a skill that you can develop. So what is the emotion here? Can anyone tell me what is the emotion they see of Usain Bolt? This is the Beijing Olympics, actually, his first one. Okay, can anyone tell me? We compare this photo to the second one, when he won just recently in London. It's very different, the emotion, when he goes through the first one and the second one. You can tell the difference in the emotion. You can tell the pressure. No pressure on him, no pressure on him. Real euphoria compared to when he went to London, yeah? But can someone describe the emotion? Anyone? Proud, okay, yes, good. Success.
Did that.
Huh?
I did that.
I did that, yeah. I've got the goal. Yeah, yeah, euphoric. What else do they see in the photo? Okay, you want to tell me what else? No, in the whole photo. What else do you see?
The third one.
Okay, the second chap. Go on, the second runner. What about him? Oh, no, I think he's even happier. He came second to Usain Bolt. He's even happier. So can you see that sometimes we miss the real issue, which is that this guy here is even happier that he's come second, yeah? Okay, move on, please, yeah? And look, emotions, reading emotions, some of them are obvious. Just go through all, and some of them are less obvious as well. But it's a skill to have. Okay, I just want to do this. I was going to do this more tomorrow, but no, let's move on. I was trying to keep on going. That's why normally I like to have that. Keep on going. Keep on going. That right here. Go back one slide. Okay, now really finish here and leave it to questions. Balance. A lot of what I've been talking about today is about balance. You need to ensure in your life that you have a balance in all of the different segments of your life and the sections of your life. And the trick is to keep mind and body in balance, but also much more than that. So, you know what? You might have one area of your life in balance, but other areas are not in balance. Now, here is a practical technique that you can take away to work. Improving emotional health is done through looking after yourself every day, through developing emotional skills, improving awareness, living in a supportive family or community and in a healthy environment. But also it's about, and I had a question in the break, it's about this kind of self-regulation and account of yourself. And so, look, one of the ways we can break down our life, you can do it much more as well, but one of the simple techniques, you can break your life down, the whole of your life, into mind, into body, into soul, into family and relationships. So this is it, family and friends. In many ways, this comprises more or less 360 degrees of our whole life, most of what we do. However, the reality is this. In each of those four segments, we have to, okay, like I said, invest. You can't just develop one aspect and not the other. You have to develop your whole self. So, for example, what kind of stuff do we do to develop our mind? Anyone? We come to places like this. As an example, we listen to lectures. We study, we research, we read, we analyze. These are things all for the mind. And what's important is this, that education and learning nurtures and develops the mind, but also we use the mind for other stuff. If I'm, for example, spending all my time Xbox, 7 hours a day on Xbox or PlayStation 2, or I'm putting in chemicals into my brain which I shouldn't have, such as cannabis and other things like this, drugs, okay, this is obviously damaging the mind. Now, when you damage the mind to an extent, it's the same thing with a bank account. If you're taking out of your mind, what are you putting back in? This is balance. If I'm taking out all the time, and part of the mind is stress, anxiety, I'm doing something highly stressful, I'm taking out, I'm taking out, I'm taking out. What am I putting back into the brain, into the mind aspect of God? If I'm not, then I'm in imbalance in one segment. Now look at it in the other 3 segments. So let me give you an example. Classic scenario that I have. People who go to university, highly skilled professionals, intellectuals with PhDs and masters and all kinds of degrees, highly skilled, develop their mind. What they didn't develop was their soul. And by soul here, and your spirituality, I'm talking in the general sense. Whether you follow a religion or don't follow a religion, it doesn't matter. Spirituality is about what you define as your purpose. It's about your relationship with the universe. It's about the big questions. It's about your deep, deep core values. That's what your spiritual self is about. Now, classic scenario, someone who's developed their mind, a high flying professional, didn't develop their soul. Values are not there. Just the principle, for example, social justice, unethical, morally not there. Guess what? The person, what will they attract in terms of family and friends? Who will they attract to them? They're very rich, successful in the world, but they'll attract someone who sees, obviously, they'll attract like-minded people to themselves. Person comes to me and says, you know what? Why is it none of my relationships work? And then as a result of that, the body starts falling. I'm getting stressed. I've got heart problems. I've got all kinds of problems because my family don't love me. And I can never find a woman who loves me. Or a woman says I can never find a man who really is going to hold on to me and values me as a person. What is it all about? It's all about balance. And I say, look, really, the reality is this. You need to realign the soul element of your body. You took out, but you didn't put back in terms of really developing your core value system. Because your value system was bankrupt. But you attracted individuals to you who also had like-minded, and so therefore your relationships were not fulfilling. And as a result of that, your stress and anxiety occurs in your body, which means that whatever you achieve in your mind here is going to be not optimized or not really being valued or being built upon. You need to go back and rebalance your life. And by focusing on your soul and developing your inner self, you'll attract the right person to you. Your family you will invest in your children. Your children feel positive about you. You find that this will create a sense of physical well-being, and intellectually you'll find as well. So can you see, and equally there's scenarios for all four, and I haven't got time to go into it. This is about balance. It's a practical technique you can take away with you. And you've got to say every week, in my mind, what did I take in, what did I put in? In my soul, what did I take in? And relationships are so important. You know, I do this with young men and their mothers. I said, what did your mother do for you this week? Oh, she cooked for me, she cleaned for me, she did this for me, she did that for me, she looked after me. You took out so much from your mum. And I asked, okay, what did you put back in? And they scratch their heads, the young men, and they'll say, not much. And then they realize their bank account, they're actually in overdraft. They are bankrupt unless they put something back into their relationship. The same with your partner. You've got to keep on putting in. And then guess what happens? Their mum will call me the next day and they'll say, what did you do to my son? He came home and started to do the Hoover. He's never done it before. Okay, it's about investment. Okay, I'm going to close it today. Any questions, comments on it? I know the time is short. I'm sure we can overrun a little time with the questions.
I want to know how to enhance the decision-making capabilities.
Okay. In what aspect of, you see, when you talk about decision making generally, you know, it's a broad area, but is there anything more specific? If you can tell me the type of decision. If you're talking about technically, you know, but if you're talking about relationship terms, or is there something?
Yeah, relationships and other social, yeah.
Yeah. So this is the thing, okay, how do I develop my decision making skills to make the right decision at the right time, and to be kind of, this is one of the techniques that you can use to develop higher level thinking skills. But there's lots of techniques in terms of it. Like I said, in your decision making, especially in relationship terms, one of the things, you're making it within a millisecond. So it always goes back into my core reference point. And it's not just your reference point, and tomorrow I'll show you how the framework works. It's your reference point, north, south, east, and west, and it's what I call the associated behaviors. So for example, if I'm saying in relationship terms, number one, respect. Number two, north is respect all the time. My east is honesty. So therefore, between respect and honesty, the behavior which demonstrates that is to be, like I said, you know, have integrity and always be open in my behavior. So that means you can't have 2 mobile phones, okay, and you can't have 2 email accounts. All right, so that, can you see the point I'm trying to make? You have the value and you have the associated behavior, and then you're holding yourself to account in terms of how you, like I said, implement that particular and this has to be then conditioned into you. How do you condition that into you? You only condition that into you by being in an environment where other people have the similar kind of values. If you're in an environment where young people see women, young men see women with disrespect, and you're trying to respect them, you're going against the paradigm unless you change that environment or change the people in that environment. So that's again one of the aspects of kind of influencing decision making. Again, when it comes back onto all of the things that we were saying, another way that we improve decision making skills is by having empathy. We didn't touch on it. Thinking about how other people feel about for ourselves. Imagining life from their point of view. And the other thing is self-regulation. Monitor your behavior. Recognize I've done wrong here. My behavior was wrong. I'm weak here. And then rectify the situation. So can you see there's lots of techniques that I've just given you which enable you to do that. But again, you know, like, again, that the whole process of understanding, you know, your emotional intelligence, how you are acting, how the person is responding. Again, that's kind of core to that whole process of what the decision-making process is. Where you know it's wrong, then obviously you correct the situation. If you're not even thinking about it, then you don't know anything's wrong. A lot of people, they're in denial. Oh, there's no problem there. But in this case, you know there's a problem, and then you can rectify the problem. I know this gentleman earlier asked about anger management, so I'm just going to ask him if he wants to present his question. Okay. Anger management. Again, it's a big issue in itself. How do you regulate and manage your anger? How do you do this? It's the same thing, it's the same kind of process that we're talking about. What I know is this, that when at first recognize that anger and being angry in a situation is learned behavior. Behavior that you've learned. Many people who are angry and they react like it's almost like an instinctive reaction. They react in an aggressive way. Okay? This is a behavior they've learned because they've been in an environment where other people have behaved in this way. They've seen them and they've adopted that behavior, or they're in an environment where this is the behavior which is the norm. Interestingly, the opposite of aggression is passive. So some people, they're passive. That no matter how much you provoke them, they won't do anything. That's wrong as well. The behavior which is the appropriate behavior is what we call assertiveness. Assertiveness is between passiveness and aggression. And assertiveness is being confident and self-assured that you don't have to become aggressive and angry. You just present yourself quite clearly with confidence. This is so when we know that this is the case, that sometimes we go between passive and passiveness and aggression, that the real balance is around being assertive. We need to then learn how to be assertive in our behavior. So the first point, know that if you have a problem with your anger and you respond aggressively, that this is learned behavior. Second point is know that you can unlearn this behavior. Similar to the person who asked me about depression. Know that depression does end. You can go. Many of us will have a depressive period in our life and it changes. We do overcome it. Know that the behavior can be unlearned. if the motivation is strong enough to unlearn and re-educate that behavior.